I am a 30 years old male, and I got married 2 weeks ago. I was married before, but it ended after I found out that my older brother Thomas, 34 years old, got involved with my first wife. It was devastating because we were close and had a great relationship. I also helped him so much while he was struggling, and seeing how he repaid me hurts to this very day. I stopped talking to him, and Mom and Dad forced me to keep it a secret, and because I was too weak to argue with them, I just kept my own distance. Then I met my now wife. My family loved and embraced her as their own. Mom and Dad treat her like a queen, which helped repair and solidified my relationship with them. However, as the wedding was approaching, they told me they expected me to invite Thomas. I of course refused, but they kept guilting me about what the relatives and other guests would think and say when they don't see Thomas there. I fought with them about it till the day of the wedding. Turned out they'd invited him behind my back, but I found out and stopped them in time. They came to the wedding looking pissed, asking what we were going to tell people when they ask about Thomas. I told them I'd take care of it. And what I did was take a moment while everyone was paying attention, grabbed the mic and flat out announced this and said, "The reason I didn't invite Thomas to my wedding is because I was worried he'd steal my now wife just like he stole the first one." I said it playfully to not make it sound so tense, but most of the guests looked shocked and started mumbling. Then it went awkwardly quiet for a moment. Then we moved on, but I saw Mom and Dad walk out while looking at me grudgingly. Later they started lashing out about how I just exposed Thomas and caused him to be shunned by the family in the most hideous of ways. I told them that I already said I didn't want him there, yet they tried to push him on me repeatedly, saying, "What are people going to say?" So I told them the reason why he wasn't there in a playful way, but they, the guests, still got the message. Mom started yelling about how everyone will now look down on and shun Thomas. She called me pathetic and cruel for still punishing him and gradually ruining his life despite him apologizing and trying to reconcile. But in my opinion, some things are just unforgivable. We've been on horrible terms since then. My wife said at least now they're off my back about what people would say about not inviting him. I have this vegan coworker, we'll call her Vegan, who is very active on FB and in the office about being vegan and how cruel farming is and everything. Each to their own. I don't necessarily disagree with her views on animal cruelty, but here's the thing, I'm a hunter. Not a trophy hunter, but I do shoot feral pigs, rabbits, ducks, introduced, classified game ducks, and foxes, and I fish too. All except for the fish are classified as pests. Foxes especially kill native wildlife and farm animals, and farmers will often put you up on their property for free to hunt them. I have passed tests here, especially for identification of game ducks versus protected species, and practice ethical hunting. I.e. allow the animal to have a fair chase, no dogs or tracking devices. Practicing marksmanship and dispatching prey swiftly and humanely and not wasting the meat. None of that is obviously good enough for Vegan. When she first came onto the team and told everyone she was vegan, I kept my mouth shut about my hunting. I also think she's really intolerant because she preaches to people about how going vegan will help with their various ailments, and always turns up her nose at people heating up meat in microwave. As a result, we've kind of consciously started excluding her when we get up for lunch. However, last year I started going hunting more regularly with a work friend from another department, whose uncle owns a farm where feral pigs and like are an issue, and he often swings by to have a chat about guns and bows and our next trip. And she found out I was a hunter. This isn't even at our desks, it's in the kitchen area that has tables and stuff, and we sometimes eat our lunches together. Ever since then, every conversation I've had with her, she's referred to hunting and how cruel it is. One time, I wore a leather pencil skirt to work and she had a go at me for wearing animal products. She seems to have singled me because of the fact that I go hunting. My boss has no spine, I've tried talking to him about this. But she just intimidates him and makes it seem like she's been persecuted, and he's backed down from that. She even tried to get a vegan shelf in the fridge and tried to rope in some Hindu vegetarian guys to do that, but they pointed out that they use milk and cheese and honey in their cooking. They also think she's nuts. It's gotten to the point where we go out for drinks on a Friday night at 5 and we never ask her. I don't organize these things, a coworker does, but my boss told me, when I brought it up in one-on-one meeting, that she feels really left out and she seems to think it's my fault because I've been here for longer and I'm somehow poisoning them against her, or something. I have since been conscious of this. If anyone starts conversation about vegan, I just say I don't talk to her unless it's work-related and she's more than adequate at her job. It's actually become something of a joke or catchphrase. I told my boss I don't organize anything except official events, and she's always been invited. If she's not invited to informal stuff, that's not even organized by me, then that's not my problem. The coworker that doesn't invite her, she managed to piss him off because he's eaten guinea pig. He's from Peru. And she asked him if he'd eaten any of his other pets. For the record, he never ate a guinea pig that was a pet. It's something they eat in Peru. Whenever she brings up hunting or anything, I just point blank ask her there was anything work-related that she wanted to talk about, and if there wasn't, I would start talking to someone else or just walk off. I have asked her multiple times to keep conversations work-related. I never start a conversation with her at all. Most of the time, she pounces when I'm in the kitchen making tea, getting water, or just stretching my legs. One time last week, a group of us were talking and she got up to join the discussion. A horrible silence fell over the group to the point where I just excused myself and went to my desk, and so did a few others. It all came to a head in our team meeting today when our boss, usually at the ends, asks if there's any positive news or celebrations outside of work people want to share, like engagements, marathons, charity appeals, etc., and vegan sarcastically asked me how many lives I'd taken last weekend. I got annoyed and said her constant badgering me about my hobbies and choice to eat meat was discriminatory and bothersome, and that unless it was work-related, she was not to engage me in conversation otherwise, and told our scribe to put that in the meeting minutes. She seemed a bit shocked by that, and my boss looked uncomfortable but said fair enough. I thought that was the end of that, but the right before our boss went to close the meeting, 2 other coworkers also put their hands up and asked vegan to only engage them in work-related discussions, and that they were also uncomfortable being given non-medical health advice pertaining to their choice to consume meat and their diets. Again, boss looked uncomfortable but asked vegan to respect their wishes and closed the meeting. Vegan didn't look anyone in the eye after that but headed straight to the bathroom. My boss was trying to get one of the coworkers to see if she was okay, and I think one of them eventually checked up on her, but she was in a cubicle and asked to be left alone. She eventually came out and asked my boss to leave early, which she did. I feel awful now. She embarrassed me in front of my team with the lives taken comment, so I pushed back, but I am caught between not wanting her to miserable and not wanting anything to do with her at all. A few of my coworkers and I ended up in a proactive conference call after this with HR, who basically said that always been subjected to unwanted advice and jabs about eating meat was not okay. But some mediation was in order to ensure cut the tension in the workplace. The HR rep then called my boss, who explained what happened in the team meeting and complaints that we'd made one-on-one etc., but then he went into a meeting room and didn't hear the rest of discussion. I don't know what to do, assuming she comes into work tomorrow, or if I should even talk to her at all. My 7-year-old daughter's doing virtual school in our living room recently. I heard her teacher address a girl named Kelly a few times, which stuck out to me because my daughter's class is only about 15 kids and I know them all by this point in the year. A couple times more and I realized she was calling my daughter Kelly. My daughter's name is Keely, pronounced Keely. So after school was over, I asked her if that had been happening all year in this teacher's class, and she said it had, and it really annoyed her. I asked her why she hadn't corrected the teacher if it annoyed her so much, and she said she had repeatedly at the beginning of the year, but the teacher kept calling her Kelly, so eventually she gave up on reminding her. I sent the teacher a quick email explaining the misunderstanding but got no response. This teacher teaches a special subject, think music, gym, art, or language, not just one grade level. So my daughter will be in her classes for the next several years, so we couldn't just wait it out. And how moments like these are handled now will set the stage for how my kid deals with similar situations on her own in the working world. I encouraged my daughter to come to class early or stay later again, thinking maybe she hadn't heard or understood her last time. So a quiet one-on-one would be better. She got to the class early and she told her very politely that her name was Keely like really, instead of Kelly like jelly. And that people often get it confused, so she just wanted to clarify. So class starts and sure enough she gets called Kelly again almost immediately. So there's only so much self-advocation a 7-year-old can be expected to do. I just walked over and said, "Hi, this is Keely's dad." Her's name, not Kelly. It's Keely. A few hours later, I had an email in my inbox inviting my wife and I to a parent-teacher conference with the vice principal. The long and short of the meeting ended up being the school feels that while the teacher probably should have learned her name, that the real problem is she feels I challenged her authority by correcting her in class and that the names were similar enough for it to not have warranted such drastic action. That surprised me. I couldn't believe a meeting was necessary, let alone that it cast blame on us. I can't tell if I'm being that annoying, my kid matters most parent that my grandmother the schoolteacher always complained about, or if the teacher should just learn her damn name, because that's a basic part of her job. I am a 22 years old female, have an older sister, 25 years old. My sister is very sensitive about everything. When we were young, if I made the smallest comment like, "I prefer pink over blue," it would make her cry because she thought I was aiming at her by saying it. My parents would always ask me to apologize to her since she's sensitive and I'm emotionally stronger than her. My parents never controlled my sister's diet growing up, letting her have what she wants since they found it too difficult to control her. I was skinny as a stick when I was a kid. So even though my family has a long history of thyroid disease, my parents didn't think there was an issue with me. However, my sister has been overweight the majority of her life, so my parents thought she'd be the one with the thyroid issues. They took us to an endocrinologist when I was 10. I got a diagnosis for Hashimoto's thyroiditis while my sister didn't, and instead got told to exercise and watch her diet. I got hypothyroidism due to Hashimoto's, and have been on medication ever since. My sister and I moved back in with our parents due to what's happening these days. I leave my medication in a cabinet near the kitchen since I know I won't take it unless I have to actually get out of bed to do so. Apparently, I left a box before I moved out of my parents' house when I was a teen, and one of her friends saw it while they were over and asked if it was hers. My sister told them that it was, and that's why she was overweight. The box has Euthyrox written on it in big bold letters with a little picture of a thyroid gland next to it. So, yeah, pretty obvious it was meant for a thyroid condition. She's held up this farce for almost 4 years. I only figured it out when I saw her take a box of it out of my bag one day. I confront her on it, and she starts crying and telling me that she just didn't want anyone to mean to her because she's fat. She also says that it's not fair that the one with the normal weight gets the thyroid disease. I tell her to knock it off, and that she can't lie to get sympathy from people. My parents talk to me later, and they say that I was too harsh calling her a liar and she probably needs a therapist or something, and the classic, I should apologize since I'm more mature. They even tell me that they were hoping that she was the one with the thyroid issues as a child, so that they could justify her weight gain. I ask them, so you wanted your daughter to be sick instead of admitting that it's your fault because you bought her McDonald's whenever she wanted it, and never made her exercise? Now they're mad at me too.